Chase it. Yeah, bitch. I'm on a mission. Woo. I'm on a mission. Chase it. I'm on a mission. Woo. I'm on a mission. Hey. I'm on a mission. I'm focused, determined, I'm moving different. I never be lacking, I'm packing like Pippin. The fuck is you thinking? These niggas be nervous. Yeah, the smell of fear, yeah, I'm down for the purging. Get ready to die like Biggie. Young nigga gon' ride like Curtis. I'm on a mission. I'm focused, determined, I'm moving different. I never be lacking, I'm packing like Pippin. The fuck is you thinking? These niggas be nervous. Yeah, the smell of fear, yeah, I'm down for the purging. Get ready to die like Biggie. Young nigga gon' ride like Curtis. Yeah, young nigga gotta get to the guap. Double and triple, ain't know where to stop. Fuck the block, ran it up in the spot. Bitch, niggas really talk a lot. Sugar finessing. Dodging the law, I'm learning life lessons. Don't be asking me questions. Sort my stresses in a blessing. Stupid niggas tryna copy the move. Can I woke up in my shoes? Niggas be frontin', they move. Turning his noodle to pasta juice. Catching me slipping ain't possible. Smoking that gas, that rocket fuel. I'm moving around, no obstacles. Keep a binocular. Case of the ops, tryna get popular. Ain't in a boxing, bruh. Keep a big chopper. Yeah, they will box him up. Tag him up. Body turning into plastic, huh? Bombing fuel, it ain't no average. What? Get for gab, I'm a savage. Fucking up traffic. 2 bands on the fabric. Stash spot in the attic. Call it a classic. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. Chase it. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. Hey. I'm on a mission. I'm focused, determined, I'm moving different. I never be lacking, I'm packing like Pippin. The fuck are you thinking? These niggas be nervous. Yeah, the smell of fear, yeah, I'm down for the purging. Get ready to die like Biggie. Young nigga gon' ride like Curtis. I'm on a mission. I'm focused, determined, I'm moving different. I never be lacking, I'm packing like Pippin. The fuck is you thinking? These niggas be nervous. Yeah, the smell of fear, yeah, I'm down for the purging. Get ready to die like Biggie. Young nigga gon' ride like Curtis. It was a lesson. I never be stressing my nigga, I'm cutting my blessing. Kick back like it's Tekken. Time for the prepping. I don't be rapping. I just be getting my raps in. Niggas is bitches, they tough and they taxes. Big chopper, now I teach them a lesson. Never be lacking, no tripping, no sweating. Stay on my pivot, get low in the Civic. Niggas be hating, they jealous, they envy. Remember growing up, stacking them pennies. Pull a nickel down and add up to plenty. Fuck what mama said, I feel her against me. Never trust soul, ever too friendly. Aiming to prosper, hitting the roster. Investing my money and triple the profits. Eating these niggas like lobsters. Meet up with mobsters. Fuck all the chains they collar. Little bitch, can I get not $1? Sucking and slurping, she chucking for hours. Watch out for the black Impala. Under the road to the riches, could lead no follow. Call me a role model.
This is General JR Gotham. He is the first black officer to be commissioned as Brigadier General of the North Carolina National Guard. How are you this afternoon, sir?
I have no right to grumble. Every day on this side of the grass is a good day.
Yes, sir. All right. So you have also wrote a book, Sharecroppers Wisdom, for today's leaders, the old-fashioned way, by General JR Gotham.
Yes, ma'am.
So what made you write this book? Before we talk about how you became the first black male general there in North Carolina, what made you want to write a book?
Well, you know, a lot of people along my life had told me, JR, they heard my story or parts of my story and whatnot, and they said, you need to write a book. And I said, yeah, I'm going to write a book one of these days. And then it was only a couple of years ago when the big guy, God, spoke to me and said, hey, it's time to write this book. And he gave me 2 scriptures that he based it on. One where it says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And then in Habakkuk 2:2, where it says, write the vision, make it plain upon tables, so he that readeth it can run. So those was kind of inspired me to go ahead and get busy with writing this book. The third thing that occurred was I became the Commissioner of Juvenile Justice for the state of North Carolina for a period of time. And when I was the commissioner, I went around to all the youth development centers and the youth detention centers, and I discovered that in North Carolina, about 67% of the young people in there, particular men, look like me. And that about 90% of the young men in those facilities did not have a relationship with their father or even know who their father was. So that inspired me to write this book, Sharecroppers Wisdom, Growing Today's Leaders the Old-Fashioned Way, because in the book I talk about my father, who was a sharecropper, and the wisdom that he shared with me in that old raggedy smoking Silverado pickup truck that I was so ashamed of then, but I'm so proud of now because it helped mold me into the man that I have become.
Okay. All right. So your you had you called your grandfather Daddy Sharecropper, Mr.
Right.
Roy Gorham. That's
Gorham.
that you straight,
Yes.
huh? Gorham.
Yeah,
Gorham.
that was my dad. Yes, he was
That was
he
your
was
dad.
a very hard task. That's my father. He was a hard master. And as a matter of fact, I tell people all the time that one day I was barefooted, priming the tobacco in my daddy's tobacco field, and the next day I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I had some boots on my feet. I slept in air conditioning for the very first time in my life, and I could drink all the milk I wanted for the first time in my life because my daddy didn't give me no break. He didn't give me no time off. In the tobacco field one day, in the military the next day, no break. That's how he was.
Sounds hard, but maybe the young people, the youth in today's today's age, maybe they need some of that.
Everything he did was
the black man, the successful, strong black man that you are now, and intelligent.
Absolutely. Now, the underlying theme of this book, in my opinion, since I wrote it, is that great things happen when a father, not a baby maker, but a father, speaks into the life of his children, and they listen and they obey, because that's what I attribute to my success. He would tell me things like this. He would say, boy, because that's what I thought my name was. He said, boy, you are becoming your company. Whoever you hanging around with, he said, that's what you becoming. And so when I became a second lieutenant, I started hanging around with first lieutenants, and I became one. And then I started hanging around with them captains, and then majors, and lieutenant colonels, and colonels. Finally, I started hanging around with them generals, and I became one because that's what my daddy said. Yeah.
That makes
so he
sense.
told me a lot of stuff like that. He said, boy, if you play now, you're going to have to pay later. But if you pay now, you can play later. So in addition to being a retired brigadier general in the North Carolina National Guard, in addition to being a banker at First Citizens Bank here in North Carolina, in addition to being the commissioner of juvenile justice for the state of North Carolina, in addition to being an author of a book, I'm also an artist because now I'm drawing a check.
I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. Chase it. I'm on a mission.